in an unprecedented move that shattered royal protocol and shook the very foundations of Buckingham Palace. The secretive Royal Council emerged from behind centuries-old doors to announce a decision no one believed possible. Camilla is no longer Queen Consort. But what led to this stunning vote? And why now, after years of silent tolerance? The truth is darker and more dangerous than anyone expected. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. It began with a silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that creeps through centuries of tradition like smoke through a locked door. Behind polished walls and gilded portraits, something had been festering, a discontent that no one dared name, yet everyone felt. When the Royal Council convened in an emergency closed-door session, the air was thick with the weight of legacy and vengeance. Within minutes, the decision was made. 11 votes for removal, 2 against. Camilla's title stripped, her reign over. It wasn't just a political decision, it was a reckoning, and it struck the monarchy like a lightning bolt to an ancient oak. The news didn't trickle out, it detonated. Global headlines raced one another to break the story first, each more sensational than the last. From Tokyo to Toronto, the words echoed, "Camilla out." Commentators compared it to the abdication of Edward VIII, to the ostracization of Wallace Simpson, to the long shadow of Diana that had never truly faded. But this was something else entirely. This wasn't exile, this was erasure by design. Within hours, Buckingham Palace was flanked by camera crews, journalists, and stunned onlookers. Yet, inside, an eerie silence reigned. No official statements, no words from the king, no appearance from Camilla. Clarence House, once a symbol of her unexpected rise to power, had gone dark. Lights out, curtains drawn. Rumors swirled that she had fled before the council's decision was made public. Others said she was advised to disappear for her safety or for the crown's. Security presence spiked. Guards were discreetly deployed to Sandringham and Balmoral. Clarence House was surrounded by unmarked vehicles. Insiders whispered of an imminent constitutional crisis, of a palace divided between loyalists and traditionalists, the faction of old-blood royals who had long resented Camilla's presence, her title, her influence. For years they had bided their time, watching as she rose from scandal to Queen Consort. But in the end, time ran out, and they struck without mercy. Even King Charles, once thought untouchable in his loyalty to Camilla, appeared blindsided. One leak revealed he had not been briefed on the final vote. Another hinted he'd begged for delay, only to be coldly overruled. This wasn't just a decision. It was a message, a purge, one designed to reclaim the narrative, rewrite the future, and cleanse the crown of what some still deemed an illegitimate queen. But to understand why the crown turned against its own queen, we must rewind the clock to the whispers that began months ago within the deepest shadows of Windsor. Before the vote, there was a file. A classified internal dossier circulated among the highest-ranking royals. Its contents, allegations, betrayals, and scandalous power plays implicating Camilla in a web of manipulation stretching back decades. Who compiled it and who leaked it remains unknown, but its impact was immediate. It was dubbed the Windsor File, a name whispered in corridors far from the public eye, yet powerful enough to spark tremors at the heart of the monarchy. Slipped discreetly to select members of the Royal Council, the document was more than just pages, it was a time bomb. With each allegation, it peeled back layers of the polished facade Camilla had worn for years, revealing a ruthless ambition the crown could no longer ignore. No one dared speak of its origin aloud, but those closest to the core believed it came from within. Not an outsider, not the press, a royal, perhaps more than one. Inside the dossier, one claim stood out above the rest, an accusation that during Queen Elizabeth's final, frail months, Camilla had deliberately positioned herself as the silent force behind the throne, that she had persuaded key aides to isolate the Queen from certain visitors, that she had influenced conversations, decisions, even ceremonial planning subtly, skillfully, all while the world mourned a fading monarch. It was, if true, not just a betrayal of trust. It was sacrilege, A quiet dethroning before the actual transition had even begun. More pages revealed another dangerous thread: Camilla's growing control over King Charles's inner circle. Appointments that once passed through traditional advisors now allegedly went through her hand-picked loyalists. PR teams, security heads, even ceremonial planners were shifted or replaced. The king, perhaps willingly, had handed over more power than even he realized. But someone was watching, and someone was documenting every step. But the true rupture came when the file exposed what many had long suspected: Camilla's bitter rivalry with William and Kate. It was more than jealousy. The dossier suggested a calculated effort to diminish their public image, sow internal distrust and reframe Camilla as the rightful centerpiece of the monarchy's modern face. Internal emails, manipulated press briefings, missed photo ops, and, most damningly, an alleged attempt to reassign key Commonwealth duties away from William's office. Every move had a paper trail, and now it was all in black and white. Perhaps the most chilling inclusion: surveillance footage from inside the palace. Conversations caught on closed-circuit systems, where voices hinted at conspiracies, frustrations, and warnings. Nothing explicit, just enough to confirm that something rotten had taken root. And it had a name. Many now believe that Princess Anne and Sophie, Countess of Wessex, were instrumental in leaking the file. Both women had long held quiet reservations about Camilla's ascent. But something had changed. Perhaps they saw the monarchy drifting too far from its anchor. Perhaps they feared what would happen if silence continued. Or perhaps it was revenge. Either way, once the dossier reached the council table, the path to removal was irreversible. But dossiers don't appear without motives, and in the royal chessboard, every move traces back to power and pain. She was once the silent workhorse of the monarchy, but beneath Anne's steely exterior was a seething fury that had been building for years. Camilla's rise wasn't just inconvenient, it was, to Anne, a betrayal of their mother's legacy. In hushed circles, they say Anne issued a vow, and now she's made good on it. Anne had always been the unyielding spine of the royal family, unyielding, dutiful, and almost militant in her loyalty to Queen Elizabeth II. While the world often overlooked her, mistaking her silence for detachment, few understood how deeply she revered the institution and the matriarch who defined it. So when Camilla was quietly elevated to Queen Consort, Anne didn't see it as progress or healing, she saw it as treachery. A coronation not of merit, but of manipulation. A stain on a legacy her mother had spent a lifetime protecting. And Anne did not forgive stains. She scrubbed them out ruthlessly. After the Queen's funeral, the cameras captured a moment that was never aired, one that senior staff still speak of in whispers. A confrontation. Sharp, sudden, and laced with years of restrained contempt. Anne, dressed in unrelenting black, reportedly pulled Camilla aside and uttered words that cut deeper than ceremony would allow. What was said remains locked behind tight lips, but one phrase slipped through courtier gossip like wildfire. "You will never be her." From that moment, it was clear Anne wasn't going to simply tolerate the new queen. She was going to dismantle her. Behind palace doors, Anne began moving in silence. She wasn't loud, she was strategic. While Charles basked in the soft warmth of Camilla's new public persona, Anne was forming alliances. Trusted council members, senior aides, even constitutional advisors found themselves invited to quiet dinners and unexpected meetings. What they all had in common? A shared discomfort with Camilla's growing influence and an old-school reverence for the queen who came before. Anne's greatest weapon wasn't her title, it was her memory. Of the woman who built an empire of restraint, dignity, and quiet power, and who had never, not once, planned for Camilla to wear the crown beside her son. It was Anne who revived a nearly forgotten clause, buried deep within royal regency protocols, one designed to protect the throne during uncertain transitions. While it had never been used in this context, it allowed for a re-evaluation of consort legitimacy based on public and constitutional harmony. In other words, if enough of the council felt Camilla's presence disrupted national stability or endangered the monarchy's image, Her title could be revoked. Legally, quietly, permanently. At the emergency council session, Anne reportedly said the words that would echo through history: "She may be queen in name, but she is not in spirit." The chamber fell silent. It was the closest anyone had come to invoking Elizabeth's legacy as a weapon, and from Anne it carried weight, the kind of weight that made even hardened royalists pause. For Anne, this wasn't political, it was personal. Every inch of her presence in that chamber was a tribute to the mother who had carried the monarchy through fire and who, in Anne's eyes, had been betrayed by the very woman now trying to wear her crown. But Anne didn't do it alone. Her fury may have sparked the rebellion, but it was another royal one much closer to the throne who would soon deliver the final blow. He remained silent for years, but behind palace doors, Prince William had grown wary if not resentful of Camilla's unchecked influence. And when reports reached him that she'd interfered with his children's future royal roles, he delivered a chilling message to the council: choose her or lose him. William had always played the part of the steady heir, the dutiful son, the modern prince, the reluctant royal who kept his emotions buried behind clenched jaws and careful smiles. But the day Camilla was crowned Queen Consort, something in him cracked. It wasn't public, it wasn't dramatic, but it was final. From that moment, every move she made was studied, measured, and remembered. At first, it was subtle, the way she commandeered state duties, the quiet realignment of ceremonial prominence, the patronages that conveniently overlapped with Kate's initiatives. But over time, it escalated. William wasn't just being overshadowed, he was being sidelined. The breaking point came during a closed-door briefing in the weeks following King Charles's coronation. According to senior aides, William learned that Prince George had been deliberately excluded from discussions surrounding royal succession education, a cornerstone of his future responsibilities. The decision, it was later discovered, had been suggested by Camilla's advisors, who claimed the boy needed more time away from pressure. To William, it wasn't concern, it was sabotage. That night, sources say he stormed into Charles's Balmoral study, demanding answers. The argument, overheard by multiple staff members, ended with a slammed door and a chilling statement: "You've let her rewrite everything, even the line of kings." But William wasn't reckless, he was methodical. Within weeks, he began holding quiet meetings with the Lord Chamberlain, senior figures within the Queen's Privy Council, and even constitutional experts. Not to build a case against Camilla publicly, but to prepare for what he knew was coming. His message was simple: if the monarchy hoped to survive him, it could not survive her. And if nothing changed, he would leave. Not in scandal, not in rage, but in silence. A future king walking away not from duty, but from a family that no longer felt like his own. The threat of an abdication-level crisis from the heir apparent sent a jolt through the royal council. Their fear wasn't just about public fallout, it was about precedent. For 1,000 years, the crown had endured succession by blood, but never before had it faced the risk of refusal. A prince who would not inherit, a son who would not serve. And all because of a woman the institution was never meant to crown. What made it worse? William never raised his voice. His approach wasn't theatrical, it was surgical. Cold, he didn't attack Camilla with emotion. He simply laid out the future with her in it and the monarchy unraveling. And in that chilling logic, the council saw a mirror, not just of William's pain, but of their own reckoning. It wasn't just about titles anymore, it was about survival. But while the future king played politics, the woman at the heart of it all had vanished. As cameras waited outside Clarence's house for a statement, Camilla was already gone. No driver, no security detail, no trace. Insiders whisper she fled before the vote. Others say she was told to disappear or be forcibly removed. Wherever she is, she's not coming back without a fight. The official timeline collapsed the moment the council's decision became public. No press release, no palace acknowledgement, no statement from the Queen Consort. Because by the time the news exploded across headlines and social feeds, Camilla had vanished. Not dismissed, not retired, gone. Hours before the vote was even announced, her personal belongings had reportedly been cleared from her Clarence House quarters. Staff were instructed not to report for duty, doors were locked, curtains drawn, It wasn't a reaction, it was a retreat. Preemptive, calculated, or orchestrated. Conflicting reports painted an increasingly murky picture. Some said Camilla had received a tip-off from someone high within the council, a final act of loyalty before the execution. Others insisted she was quietly escorted out of London under armed supervision, her exit disguised as a scheduled health retreat. But the strangest claims came from across the Channel. Sussex sources, including a journalist once close to Meghan Markle's team, alleged she was spotted arriving at a private estate in the south of France, just hours before the palace gate was sealed. No official record of her travel. No CCTV footage, just silence and a cold trail. Within the palace, confusion turned to chaos. Her personal line had been disconnected. Communications staff reported that her phone rang twice, then went dead. No digital trail, no iCloud pings. Members of her inner circle stylists, assistants, even her most loyal friend from her pre-royal days refused to answer media inquiries. One even resigned. The PR team, usually so swift to counter headlines, released nothing, not even a denial. It was as if the monarchy had agreed on one thing: pretend she never existed. But someone didn't want us to forget. Days later, a junior security official confirmed anonymously that portions of the Windsor Palace surveillance system had been mysteriously wiped, not just archived, deleted. A 4-hour gap the morning of her disappearance. The same morning, council members began receiving copies of the Windsor file. Coincidence? Unlikely. Within royal circles, such things don't just vanish, they're erased. And now, whispers have begun. That Camilla, furious and betrayed, may re-emerge not as a queen but as a weapon. That a tell-all memoir is being drafted from seclusion, that international outlets, American ones especially, are offering staggering sums for the truth. Because if there's one thing more dangerous than a queen dethroned, it's a woman with nothing left to lose and everything left to say. But while Camilla disappeared, Charles was left to face a storm he never thought would come from the very throne he fought to inherit. He spent a lifetime waiting to be king. But in the end, Charles couldn't protect the one woman he'd risked everything for. As the royal council moved against Camilla, Charles stood powerless, isolated by age, weakened by grief, and surrounded by enemies disguised as allies. In the weeks leading up to the vote, something changed in Charles. Behind the smiles and speeches, those closest to him noticed a man fraying at the edges. Whispers inside Buckingham Palace spoke of exhaustion, erratic moments of silence, and a king who seemed to be watching his kingdom slip through his fingers. Sources revealed that he had been missing private briefings, avoiding one-on-one meetings with his most senior advisors, and spending long, unexplained hours alone. For a man who had waited over 70 years for the crown, it was as if the weight of it had finally begun to crush him. And then came the blow he never saw coming. Despite holding the title, Charles was allegedly kept in the dark about the council's final decision. A calculated move, some believe, designed to prevent him from using his influence to stall the process. Those behind the effort knew he would resist, but they also knew he was too isolated, too unwell, too fractured to stop them. When the emergency meeting was called, Charles arrived, late, eyes red, hands trembling. What happened inside that room remains the subject of palace lore, but one aide later described it as a man begging not for the crown but for his companion. He pleaded for a delay, just one more week, one more chance to fix the cracks before they shattered everything. His words reportedly fell on stone. The vote had already been cast, the council had spoken, and in that moment the King of England was no longer the most powerful man in the room. He was a husband watching his wife be erased by a system he once thought he controlled. In private, Charles was overheard whispering to a longtime advisor, "I lost her once. I won't lose her again." A haunting reference to the decades of exile, pain, and forbidden love that defined his relationship with Camilla. But this time, the loss wasn't from public pressure. It was from within the very family he once fought to unite. The aftermath was immediate. Charles withdrew from scheduled appearances. His voice was absent from official statements. And perhaps most painfully, the already strained relationship with William crumbled entirely. Palace insiders now describe father and son as cordial only in ceremony. The betrayal ran deep not just for the Queen Consort, but for a king whose own blood had drawn the sword. And yet, this wasn't just about family, it was about the institution. And someone had to protect it. No matter the cost, they are rarely seen, never quoted. But the royal institution's oldest protectors, the elders, still move pieces from the shadows. And when Camilla's power threatened to eclipse centuries of unwritten codes, they reappeared and rewrote her destiny with one signature. The monarchy may wear a crown in public, but behind it sits a council with no throne, only influence. Known in whispered circles as the Elders, this group is composed of former royal advisors, ceremonial stewards, and constitutional purists who have no official titles anymore, yet remain tethered to the very soul of the monarchy. Their role is not to govern, it is to preserve, not to lead, but to guard. And when Camilla's position began warping the image of the crown, pushing tradition to its breaking point, they resurfaced with the weight of royal memory and the ruthlessness of history. It's said the elders held their first meeting 6 months before the vote, long before public unrest, before William's ultimatum, even before Charles sensed the shifting tide. Their gatherings were discreet, hosted in ancestral estates, private dining rooms, even within the inner rooms of Windsor Castle. Those present weren't chosen for power, but for their allegiance to legacy. Men and women who had served under Queen Elizabeth and believed unequivocally that her unspoken codes were being undone by Camilla's growing influence, and they were determined to stop it. They didn't shout, they didn't threaten. Instead, they turned to the very thing Camilla couldn't outmaneuver: precedent. In 1936, when King Edward VIII defied convention for Wallis Simpson, it wasn't just the crown that forced him out, it was the clause buried in royal statute that deemed a consort unfit when public opinion and institutional harmony fractured. That clause, dusty, forgotten, but never erased, was unearthed, renamed, and rewritten. They called it Clause Windsor. And it gave the Royal Council the authority not just to question Camilla's role, but to terminate it. The elders didn't stop at removal. They proposed something far more permanent, a total redefinition of what the Queen Consort title actually means. In their draft, leaked only to 3 top aides, the role would be ceremonial only, no influence, no succession tie, no constitutional relevance. It would be a position of presence, not power, a title that could no longer reshape the monarchy from within. Their aim was surgical. If Camilla had cracked the door open, they would slam it shut forever. And they nearly did, because by the time the council convened, every legal path had already been cleared. Every resistance diffused. The vote was not just a rebellion, it was the fulfillment of a blueprint, meticulously laid by those who had outlived kings, queens, and scandals. The elders had done their work, quietly, completely, and with the stroke of a pen, they didn't just end Camilla's reign, they erased the possibility of another like hers ever rising again. As the old guard took back control, the monarchy was about to face something even more dangerous: the court of public opinion. For years, she walked a tightrope of quiet smiles and reluctant acceptance. But Camilla was never truly embraced. Now, as the public divides over her downfall, a new wave of royal reckoning begins on Twitter threads, talk shows, and tearful tributes to Diana. In the hours following the announcement, social media didn't just react, it detonated. The hashtag #NotMyQueen resurfaced like a ghost that had never really gone away, spreading across platforms with brutal speed. Posts mourning Diana were reposted side by side with clips of Camilla at official events, framed not with respect, but with resentment. Yet just as powerful was the counterforce, #JusticeForCamilla, a defiant campaign fueled by those who saw her not as a villain, but as a survivor of decades of public vilification. For the first time, the monarchy wasn't divided by bloodlines, but by browser tabs. Talk shows across Britain and America lit up with furious debates. Former courtiers, royal biographers, and ex-staffers revealed just enough to fuel conspiracy, but not enough to calm it. Some claimed the palace had waited for the Queen to die to strike. Others whispered of Camilla's supposed plan to reshape the monarchy as a softer, more accessible institution. The establishment wasn't ready to embrace. The narratives twisted and clashed, with the public watching like a nation at war with its own history. But while emotions raged, numbers told another story. A flash YouGov poll conducted in the wake of the vote showed a staggering 63% of the public supported Camilla's removal, not out of hate but out of weariness. Weariness of inconsistencies, unspoken tensions, and the quiet rewriting of tradition they had never been asked to approve. Many admitted they'd never fully accepted her as queen. Not really, not in the shadow of Diana. And now, with that shadow stretching across an entire generation, the reckoning had arrived. Public figures weighed in with sharpened tongues. Celebrities who had once attended royal events now posted cryptic messages, thinly veiled as solidarity. A former royal protection officer described a palace turned cold. Even a retired lady-in-waiting hinted that Camilla's fall was not sudden, it was scheduled. The words sent shockwaves through online forums, feeding the idea that her removal wasn't just political, it was orchestrated. Younger voices were the loudest, not because they despised Camilla, but because they had grown up in a world where silence from the palace was no longer acceptable. They wanted transparency, accountability, answers bar. For them, the monarchy wasn't sacred, it was conditional. And if the institution wanted to survive them, it needed to evolve. Quickly. The palace's PR machine scrambled, statements were drafted, then pulled. A single official photo of Charles alone was released, meant to inspire stability. Instead, it inspired fear. The Queen Consort was gone, but the ghosts she left behind were louder than ever. But as the dust settles, a single question remains, the one no one dares say aloud. Yet everyone whispers behind closed doors. With Camilla gone, the throne tainted and his legacy in ruins, can Charles continue? Or will history repeat itself, and a second abdication bring the monarchy to the brink once more? The final decision may already be made, and it could change the future of Britain forever. Behind the thick walls of Buckingham Palace, where portraits of sovereigns stare down from centuries past, a question no one dared ask aloud has now become the only one that matters. Will the king step down? In private, multiple senior courtiers confirm that Charles has spoken cautiously, hypothetically, about abdication. Not in fiery protest, but in weary contemplation. The institution he fought to defend, the woman he crowned beside him, the legacy he hoped to restore, it has all come undone. And now he sits alone, a monarch without momentum, a figurehead eclipsed by scandal and silence. William, meanwhile, has been quietly summoned. Sources close to the royal household report that transitional training, long considered premature, has now accelerated. Meetings once reserved for the future have become matters of urgency. Constitutional briefings, Commonwealth responsibilities, private briefings with the Archbishop of Canterbury, each a step toward a throne that feels closer by the hour. But William, too, remains cold. His rift with Charles has not healed. If anything, it has hardened. And if a transfer of power comes, it may not be passed with warmth. It may be wrested in necessity. Above all of this looms the ghost of Queen Elizabeth. Her name, her reign, her steadiness. Every decision made in her absence is haunted by the legacy she left behind. Insiders say Charles often speaks of her now not as a mother, but as a measuring stick he cannot meet. In moments of private reflection, he reportedly wonders whether he misunderstood her final years, whether she knew all along that the institution was breaking from within, and whether she stayed, not for herself, but to shield him from what was coming. Public support has cratered. The monarchy's favorability has hit its lowest point in 2 decades. Internal polling shows that the younger generations, particularly Gen Z and millennials, are growing restless, not angry, indifferent. And for the monarchy, indifference is death. Parliament has begun its own quiet assessments. Emergency meetings have been held with senior royals. Contingency plans, once confined to the back pages of protocol manuals, are now being read aloud behind closed doors. The monarchy is still standing, but the scaffolding is creaking. In a rare, off-the-record moment, one senior advisor was quoted saying, "The crown no longer protects us. We must now protect it." It's a chilling reversal. For centuries, the monarchy was the shield of the nation. Now, even its defenders are unsure whether that shield can hold. And if Charles does walk away, if he becomes the second Windsor monarch to relinquish the throne in under a century, it won't be scandal that brings it down. It will be exhausting. And so the palace stands quiet. For now. But the echoes of betrayal, loss and rebellion still haunt its halls. Because in the House of Windsor, every crown is paid for in blood, not gold. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.